Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So it's been quite a long day for the second to last day of Kaldheim spoilers. But I just chugged another cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go. Anyways, if you didn't see my super early morning episode on Bergi, God of Tales, make sure you check that one out. And if you're looking to have 20-minute turns and lose all your friends, make sure you build a deck around her. And another incredibly powerful commander that was just spoiled is the one from my most recent episode on Orvar. You literally can copy anything you have for just 1 mana with this deck. Let me say that again. Anything you have, 1 mana, copy, you're gonna win. But with those episodes and with this one, a quick spoiler warning. If you're not looking to see Kaldheim spoilers, then stop right now. Maybe go for a walk. Maybe call a friend just to chat. Or maybe watch every single deck tech that I've ever made. The choice is yours. Anyways though, let's jump into it. And the commander that I'm going to be talking about in this episode is Firja, Judge of Valor. She is one of the many incredible uncommon commanders in this set. And although she was spoiled quite some time ago, I've been working hard to catch up on all my episodes so that I can get to her. The Kaldheim spoilers just kept coming and things kept getting pushed back, like my sleep schedule. Anyways, Firja is an Orzhov commander the likes of which we have never seen. She is a 2/4 Angel Cleric with flying and lifelink that costs 2 white, black, black. Okay, so an Angel Cleric in black and white with flying and lifelink, that checks off so far very Orzhov. The next part is not so much. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. That to me does not sound like Orzhov. That very much sounds like Izzet, but I'm not complaining. This commander with a very unique effect for its colors gives you the opportunity to build something completely different. Casting multiple spells in a turn isn't really something that Orzhov colors focus on, but that doesn't mean that we don't have plenty of ways to do so. And when you do cast your second spell in a turn, you are rewarded with card advantage. You get to pick 1 card out of your top 3 and it goes in your hand. And the rest go into your graveyard, which is incredibly relevant for an Orzhov deck. So although this isn't your typical Orzhov commander, there are a few different directions that you can take it. So let's start off by talking about some cards and some different ways that we can cast multiple spells in a turn. Again, this might not be Orzhov's strong suit, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a couple of different ways to make this work. First off, a card like Sram's Expertise can actually just get us there on its own. It's going to make us 3 servos, and on top of that, it lets us cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost. So this card already gives us a ton of value, and again, on top of that, when that second spell is cast, our commander is going to trigger. So we get a card off the top, and we can put 2 cards into our graveyard. And then Yahenni's Expertise can help us out in a similar way, giving all creatures -3/-3 until end of turn, and then also letting us cast something for free from our hand. Now, although there aren't a ton of these cards that basically cast multiple spells in these colors, there are a few options that you can find. But some other cards that you definitely need to consider are cards with flashback. So a card like Catalyst Stone can be fantastic in this deck. It's an artifact that costs 2 and it makes your flashback cost up to 2 less to cast, and flashback cost for your opponents cost 2 more. So this can really help you out and potentially hose an opponent as well. Flashback cards can be fantastic in this deck for multiple reasons. For example, let's take a look at a card like Lingering Souls. It's a sorcery for 2 and a white, and it's going to make us 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, and it's got flashback for 1 and a black. So this card by itself, we can essentially cast twice to trigger our commander. But perhaps more importantly, having a lot of flashback cards in this deck kind of makes our graveyard a second hand. If we use our commander to ditch a card with flashback, we still have access to it. So although we just get 1 card in our hand from our commander's trigger, we are getting card advantage on multiple cards. Also, there are some flashback spells that deal with the graveyard themselves. For example, let's take a look at Sevinne's Reclamation, Unburial Rites, and Dread Return. Sevinne's Reclamation says return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may copy the spell and may choose new target for the copy. So if we flash it back, we essentially can bring back 2 things. And then Unburial Rites has return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And keep in mind that certain flashback cards like this Reanimation effect have a flashback cost that costs less than the actual cost of the card. So not only are we gaining card advantage by throwing it into our graveyard, but we also might be even saving on mana. And speaking of saving on mana, there's Dread Return. Like Unburial Rites, this is also going to reanimate 1 creature, but its flashback cost is sacrificing 3 creatures. So by sacrificing a few tokens or a few fodder creatures, we can get back a huge threat. And that's actually the direction that I would take this commander as a value reanimation commander. Again, with our commander's trigger, we can pick and choose the right cards to get into our hand and the right cards to get into our graveyard. So we can essentially ditch anything powerful that we want to cheat out. And of course, we can also have some repeatable reanimation effects in this deck like the Cauldron of Eternity and Debtor's Knell. The Cauldron of Eternity costs 10 black, but it's going to cost 2 less to cast for each creature card in our graveyard. So a good amount of the time, this can just cost us 2 mana to cast. Whenever a creature we control dies, we put it on the bottom of its owner's library, and we can pay 2 and a black and tap it and pay 2 life to return target creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield, but we can only activate this ability anytime we can cast a sorcery. 3 mana and 2 life basically is no cost at all when it comes to reanimating something huge. And then Debtor's Knell can be even better. It's an enchantment for 4 Orzhov, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card in a graveyard into play under your control. So this can actually reanimate our opponent's creatures as well. We can also include some mass reanimation effects like Pyrrhic Revival and Twilight's Call. And if you've got the budget for it, of course Rise of the Dark Realms is a fantastic card. Anyways, Pyrrhic Revival says each player returns each creature card in their graveyard into play with a -1/-1 counter on it. And then Twilight's Call we can cast at instant speed for 2 more, and it says each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. Now this does reanimate our opponent's creatures for them as well, but again, with a deck like this, we're going to be actively working to get creatures into our yard. And of course, we can use a more targeted approach like Footsteps of the Goryo. It says return target creature card from your graveyard to play, sacrifice that creature at end of turn. So it costs less than a typical reanimation effect, but there is a downside. However, we're also going to have access to certain ways to get around that downside. For example, Ephemerate is a blink spell with rebound. So we cheat that creature out with Footsteps of the Goryo, and then we blink it, and congratulations, it's sticking around. And again, because it says rebound, we essentially get to cast it twice. And a mechanic like rebound can really help us out with our commander in getting that second spell. So another rebound spell that we might want to consider is Profound Journey. It says return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's got rebound. So we can use this to help us get back anything, even one of those huge enchantments like Debtor's Knell that can provide us an absurd amount of value. But speaking of things that we can get back, let's talk about other targets for our reanimation spells. And the majority of our reanimation spells and effects are going to get back creatures, so let's focus on those. So first off, a card like Sun Titan can be fantastic in this deck. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, we can return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. So when we get this back, or when it attacks, we get back another thing. Speaking of getting things back, another great target is Rhea Dawnbringer. Now, Rhea might cost 9 mana in total, but we're not going to be paying anywhere near that much to reanimate her. And then she can help us reanimate other things because she has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And repeatable reanimation like this can be an incredibly powerful thing. Speaking of reanimation, another fantastic target is Sepulchral Primordial. It has, when it enters the battlefield for each opponent, we may put up to 1 target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under our control. So we can essentially steal our opponent's 3 best things and have fun from there. Another good target might be Overseer of the Damned. It has, when it enters the battlefield, we can destroy target creature, and whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, we create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. So this can benefit us in multiple ways by making a lot of zombie tokens throughout the game, and by taking out a key creature. And speaking of taking things out, let's not forget about Ashen Rider. It has, when it enters the battlefield or dies, exile target permanent. So this has an incredibly powerful ETB and death trigger. And again, with our reanimation effects, we're going to be paying nowhere near 8 mana to get this out. But now, as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to give you my gut feeling on this card. Again, this commander is a very unique Orzhov commander, the likes of which we really have never seen. Again, just reading the card, it seems much more like an Izzet commander than Orzhov. But that gives us the opportunity to build a really unique deck around this one. And again, I think a value-based reanimation strategy could be a really fun one for this commander. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.